What? A doggy poo? Am I disgusting?
Okay, that does it. Screw you guys, I'm going home. Talking poo is where I draw the line.
First of all, yes, this is a real thing. Someone in the world, more specifically someone in South Korea, decided to create a children's short film about the life cycle of a dog shit. What? But believe it or not, if you're expecting me to get angry from the get-go, I'm not particularly interested in doing that here. Surprising, I know, but do you know why? Because that someone out there who made this film has amazing talent and is willing to go the extra mile to create real art. I'm gonna let that sink in because you probably thought that was a joke. Yeah, well, if you thought that was a joke, then you've got the main problem with this short film. Before we begin though, I am aware that this was made in another country with a culture that I don't really understand, so I'm going to try and be careful on that front. Even if cultural differences did explain where this came from though, it was given an official English dub and was slated for worldwide release. And you know what? The English dub is really, really good. In fact, there's a lot of good here. I can say that definitively right now and right off the bat. This is the best movie about a pile of shit that you will ever see in your life. I mean, just look how it opens. We're given a calming scenic view with beautiful music. It's a very nice opening. If you're wondering, this film is in claymation, and the claymation is really, really good. I mean, just look at the ambience of a calming, quiet autumn day. We see a leaf crushed by a cart and a pile of soil, and many other minute details. This will come back later though. But as the music jumps to its highest point, we see a dog come by and literally shit out our main character. The first time I saw this, I just laughed. But no, this isn't a parody. This is supposed to be taken dead seriously. In fact, this is shot like how most characters in this type of film are born. In fact, this short film has a lot in common with many Christmas animated specials. Except, you know, it's about a pile of shit. And for what it's worth, it's very impressive how cute they can make a piece of shit look. I feel weird for saying that. And yes, our main character, after getting born, I guess, is impressed with the world. Kind of like Noel. But despite the artistry and the intentions, there is one particular reason that I decided to review this as an animated atrocity. And believe it or not, it actually wasn't the fact that our main character is a piece of shit. The reason I decided to review this as an animated atrocity is because this movie is melodramatic as fuck. In the next scene, a bird comes down and pecks at the poo, realizes what it is, and then calls it disgusting. This is the first thing that our main character meets. Then he gets laughed at by a pile of soil, causing the doggy poo to cry. You see, in Noel, a lot of characters told the ornament his place, but throughout the entire movie he kept his optimism, his happiness, which contrasted well with the world around him. It's a very important part in any ugly duckling story that, if not the main character, then someone needs to believe that the duckling will be beautiful at some point in its life, or else the story becomes feel sorry for it. And I can't do that at the best of the times. I definitely can't do it here. Not for lack of trying, though.
Okay, I am a poo. So what?
You are not just any poo. You are a doggy poo. The worst kind of them all.
I suspect that a lot of the melodrama comes from the fact that this is the only way you can humanize a turd. I mean, shit is what we call the stuff that we don't like and we don't want, for a very particular reason. Also, it's actually really debatable if a doggy poo is the worst kind of poo there is. I mean, it's annoying when my dog shits on the carpet. It's even more annoying when my roommate does it. Why am I even comparing this?
I'm really sorry. I guess I shouldn't have said what I said. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
How can what you have said had any other possible motive? You are not only a piece of shit, but you're the worst type of shit there is. No, there is no other possible outcome than hurting someone's feelings, or maybe getting yourself punched in the face. God, how am I supposed to care about him at all? Or is this supposed to be like a metaphor? Is the pile of soil really the shit here?
Like you said, I'm ugly and mean. I'm very unlucky, too.
What do you mean by that? We learned that the soil comes from a farm, and he grew potatoes and other crops.
It was a God-given work which I love to do.
Yeah, like I said before, in multiple ways, this is very much like a Christmas animated special. And talking about religion and God is one of the ways that it's like that. And unlike most of the other times it comes up here, I really can't ignore the religious aspect this time around. I'm going to have to ask you to remember that line. Basically, the farmer decides that the soil is going to be transferred to be a foundation for a house. Apparently, that's a very high calling. Unfortunately, the dirt fell off the cart by accident. I guess that's kind of sad, but...
It's over now.
What do you mean by that?
Soon there's gonna be another cart coming this way and it's gonna run me over, crushing me into a million particles of dust.
Jesus Christ! Can you tug at my heartstrings a little harder, please?
Then what? What's going to happen to you?
Nothing. That's the end. It's adios. I am finished.
The end? You mean it's all over? Just like that?
The fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? Considering that the soil believes in God, I'm assuming that he's talking about the end of consciousness. In a kid's film. This is something you do not want to be talking about in a kid's film. That's not a religious thing either. I wouldn't even tell it to atheist children. It's an idea that's too hard for most kids to comprehend. Hell, it's hard for most adults to comprehend.
Bill daydreamed about all the brains in jars he used to see at school, how he used to wonder whether there were still somehow pieces of individuals inside, scattered fragments of partial dreams or lost memories locked deep within that dead tissue, or whether this entire archive is immediately erased the moment that the body fails.
Even as an agnostic atheist, it is an idea that is very hard for me to comprehend, myself personally. The actual end of consciousness, like when you die, that is it, nothing more comes. I mean, like, what exactly are you trying to do here? What's the intention? There's a fine line between making kids sad and trying to traumatize the fuck out of them. I mean, could you imagine in something like Old Yeller? If the kids asked if he'd end up seeing the dog in heaven, but his mother told him no, Old Yeller is just a dog and thus doesn't have a soul. It might be more religiously accurate, but you need to do this kind of stuff with tact. This movie just got really uncomfortable. Yes, the movie about a piece of shit just got uncomfortable.
You know, it's awful thinking about dying. Especially for someone who did so many bad things and...
For the love of God, stop! Please, have mercy! The soil says that he's done some bad things. During last summer and during a drought, the soil was thirsty, but the peppers kept taking all the moisture there was. It got to the point that he wished for them to die. Big surprise, the peppers die. And yes, the voice actor sounds really distraught about this. The doggy poo tries to explain that it really wasn't the soil's fault, but...
It was all my fault, and I am being punished for it now. If I could ever go back to the farm.
Oh my god, how long does this go on for? You cannot drag an emotional scene like this out. People get very fatigued, very easily, and it ends up losing context. In The Lion King, while Mufasa's death affected Simba throughout the entire movie, the actual sad scene was only long enough for you to get the point. Emotions can't stick with you if you exhaust them all yourself. Not helping is the fact that we get an incredibly tense scene where it looks like the soil is going to be crushed, thus ending its consciousness, which to most people is a fate worse than death. The music is given brief thumps.
What am I good for?
God has not created you for no reason.
He believes in God, but he doesn't believe in the afterlife. To me personally, I find that very confusing. And God only knows what kids would think with that kind of message. And big surprise, all this emotional buildup was for absolutely nothing. Why is it for nothing? Because all the emotions that were given from this piece of soil was given us to the fact that he might be dying. We can't be happy for this character not dying beyond any superficial means due to the fact that we didn't know him before he was potentially dying. It's storytelling like 101. This is like the first thing you need to get down. The farmer picks up the soil and sends him off to the farm. I don't give a shit. Really, I don't. Now the doggy poo is happy that the soil is alive and returns to the farm, but he's now alone and he has no one to talk to.
He said everything has a purpose, but what would I be good for?
And here's the animation's fatal flaw. The doggy poo himself needs to believe that and hold on to it. And as he holds on to the idea, we're supposed to hold on to that idea too. That's how this kind of story usually works out. Without that, the idea is left on an ox cart and bound for the farm. It's later that night as an owl hoots, and we see that some things talk and some things don't. I don't get it. The wind blows a leaf towards the doggy poo and calls it a baby. Now, I like most of the voice acting in this thing, but the leaf's is kinda stupid. Now we get a backstory for the leaf, when the doggy poo asks why it's not on a tree. He says that the leaves grow bigger under the care of a tree during the summer, but during fall and winter, all the leaves fall and scatter around. They have to leave the tree so the tree can grow more next year.
It's sad, but everything faces death someday, and it's how nature intended.
What the fuck is with this thing? Merry Christmas, little Jimmy. Here's a movie about a dog shit learning to accept death. The doggy poo talks about the soil, and we get a bunch of filler about what just happened. It's show, don't tell, not show and tell. We just saw this. I don't need to hear about what I just saw. The leaf then says that leaves cannot live longer for a year, but some things only live for a day and others live for 1,000 years.
Oh, it's a complicated world.
A fact that we can only learn through the eyes of a dog shit.
I can't go anywhere. I am stuck here forever. You are in a better position than I am. At least you don't have to move around as the wind blows. I don't have any choice but to follow wherever the wind takes me.
Once again, that's a debatable assessment. Some people are terrified of staying in one place all their life, and some people are terrified of leaving it. But being forced in either scenario pretty much sucks.
Where do you go? I don't know. I will end up being somewhere, and that will be my final destiny.
Hey, guys, do you mind if I watch something a little more uplifting, like Watership Down? Yeah, I get it. It's important for kids to learn about death through a fictional means to better help prepare for it in the real world. The most famous Disney movies have this theme. 90% of Newbery Award winners are about dogs dying. But here's the thing, none of them stay on that note for their entire run. If Bambi's mother dying was 100% in the movie, no one would really care about it because it wouldn't give context to the characters involved, outside the heartbreaking moments. And yes, Bambi's mother dying is the strongest moment in the film, but that's because it's uplifted by the rest of the film. This movie here is just a 30-minute long heartbreaking moment with very little relief anywhere. It becomes a slog.
I think it's about time. I will be flying with the wind again.
Alright, see ya. Have fun dying. Oh, what? I'm supposed to feel sorry for the leaf? Well, I can't. To protect them from being abused, my emotions have detached themselves from this animated film. I can't care about shit if I wanted to, both literally and figuratively. Once again, the piece of shit is left alone crying, and then it starts snowing. I'm assuming that it hasn't been long though, because during the winter, about a week after being laid, dog shit starts turning hard and white of its own accord. Hey, this movie wants to shove realism in my face, I'm gonna shove it right back. Yes, the cinematography is absolutely brilliant. Every angle and scene is chosen well, and the direction is absolutely amazing. And I can go on about how important the story is, but I'm not particularly interested in doing that. Most people seem to get that by now. But you know what? There are great animations with little story direction, especially in the artsy fringe. I mean, how important is the story in Fantasia or Waking Life? But I do think that there's a lesson to be learned here. The consequences of a bad idea or a bad concept. If Disney animated Mega Babies or Adult Party Cartoon and put all of their production values into the ideas that sparked them, those things would still be just as awful. Actually, maybe even more so because people spent more time and effort devoted to a bad idea. Could this particular idea ever worked? Not in earnest, I don't think so. If this movie wasn't so melodramatic, then absolutely no one could have cared about the dog shit. But being as melodramatic as it is, that kills the story, and sends any sense of pacing to a crawl. I get where the idea came from though. Think about it, an ugly duckling story about something that's, well, the bottom of the barrel, sounds like it has the potential to be the greatest ugly duckling story ever told. But at some point, with your ideas, you have to reevaluate. As for the story here, and why I'm not particularly hard on the actual animation for it, it's actually based on a children's book of the same name, and I'm going to assume that it's quite accurate to the book. No one spends this much time and artistry on something that they don't really care about. I say that because maybe a little deviation from the source material may have led to a better product. And no, I'm not saying that because it stars as shit. Because rule of 3, a chicken and her young walk up to the doggy poo. Basically, the chicken argues on whether the shit is good enough for her young to eat. All the while, I'm wondering why no one has cleaned up this piece of shit all winter. The shit is so distraught with being a shit that he's willing to be eaten to prove that he has a place in the world, but the animation denies him even that.
Gosh, I'm not even good for a meal. I wonder why God has created me.
If you want to get really technical here, the dog's digestive system created you. I know what he's talking about, it was a joke. Don't take it too seriously. Time passes. A lot of time passes. And the animator here legitimately deserves praise. The ambience is especially astounding for a project like this. But it's just, why are you using it on this? Did you really think this was a good idea? Maybe the book really touched him as a child. I don't know. But from my perspective, this is a very stupid idea. In front of the doggy poo, something grows. Now here's why I'd recommend some deviation from the actual source material, regardless if you thought the book was good or not, and this was a good idea or not.
Hello? What in the world are you?
Hello, I am a sprout of dandelion. I am going to become a beautiful flower.
No, you're going to become a weed. Dandelions are weeds. That's not just a cultural thing. That's pretty much everywhere that has farming. Dandelions grow fast everywhere and they take nutrients from more deserving plants. I mean, if the flower is something like a rose or a lily, you know, an actual flower that people want to grow, the message would have come in a lot better. Actually, no. The doggy poo becoming a dandelion completely kills any positive message that this movie had.
You must be lucky. You will become a beautiful flower someday.
I need one more thing, though.
What is it?
I need your help.
What?
The dandelion wants the poo to become fertilizer.
You have to melt into my body, though.
Whoa! Way too much information!
You have to give me all of yourself, so we both can become a flower.
Are they talking about sex? Because it sounds like they're talking about sex.
I will give all myself to you.
This movie is about a dog shit and a dandelion having sex. So this dog shit becomes a weed that spreads around, making farmers' lives miserable. Maybe this was a story about revenge instead of acceptance. I really don't know. You know, actual dog shit, like in the real world, well, dog shit ends up in the trash. And then it ends up in a landfill, where it rots for all eternity. End of story. Human shit ends up in the toilet, and then it ends up in the sewer, and then possibly in a river somewhere. The bottom line is that most shit produced by modern life does not have a happy ending. The shit in this movie does not have a happy ending. It becomes a weed. My lord. Talk about being on the right track but going in the wrong direction. In fact, I dare say this is one of the most interesting failures in existence. It's worthy of being studied and analyzed at like a university level. Its existence proves that you can put all the best effort into anything, but if you're putting it into a story about dog shit, it's not stopping it from being about dog shit. We have the saying, polishing a turd. This is probably a literal interpretation. What do we have as a result? A really, really shiny and melodramatic turd. Let's think about this logically. This atrocity has some of the most effort and skill of any atrocity that I've reviewed so far. And if it was tied to an idea that's actually worth exploring, it'd be an admirable animation, easily. Think about it. If Mars Needs Moms had flawless motion capture, it would still be fucking awful. The story in this is not that bad, but I don't know how good that it could have been. Besides the weird out-of-nowhere talk about the end of existence entirely, I think that this may have been the best possible way you could have told this story. No, that is not a challenge.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat? Yeah. Ho, 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 ho.